can OpTic Gaming get back to that #1 team in the world?
You say, can they get back? Bro, they got a feedback after this tournament. I expect OpTic to bounce back, but I think it's a great question, Tony, because it has to be said. I mean, it wasn't just slipping, right? It was straight up just a bad performance from them, because they weren't Game 5 Slayers where, you know, oh, they stole away the series. No, they were both 3-1s, meaning that the objectives were being won by the team with the lower seed. Usually that means there's some sort of problem. Now, yeah, you have blue days, you know what I'm saying? It's not over for this OpTic Gaming squad. I expect to see them bounce back strong, but Sentinels seem to be getting better every single tournament. Adding Suspector to this roster, he brings the slaying power that I think the roster has needed. It feels like new life is in store for Sentinels.
And honestly, it needs to be. I mean, when you think about Sentinels, wow, what a rocket cross map into the BR from King Nick. But when you think about Sentinels, you know, they're in a weird predicament. There's only 600 points that separate them in the 8th place spot between Avengers, who are in the 10th place spot. So like they're comfortable, you know, trying to go to land right now as far as going to DreamHack Dallas. But if they have a bad tournament either today or during the 4K, we could see Sentinels possibly not qualify for land via North America. That would be crazy to think about.
Yeah, there's so much parity between the top, I want to say like top 6 to like 11th, 12th seed. It almost feels like any tournament can determine so much in the seedings today. With DreamHack, only the top 10 teams in North America are really going to make it, and seeding just at the major events, even though everyone can go, seeding can often dictate whether you get a top 16 placing or if you're making a run for top 6.
Oh, so far Sentinels starting off hot against the #1 seed OpTic Gaming, a double cap, a 50-14 run. We see APG trying to make a play over toward the alpha side, and they're immediately able to deal with it. And now you have one more player in Formal sitting towards the back of your base, while OpTic Gaming end up going 3 down. Formal goes down as well, but OpTic quick on the regain, quick on the spawns, and already working on Bravo.
Yeah, Lucid, very heads up from him, immediately overextended off the spawn because Formal's buying as much time as possible at back A. It allows OpTic Gaming to get B, but it comes at a risk, and the risk is giving up these rockets. Sparty's going to be able to use these rockets to try to re-break into B. A couple slays that need to fall in favor of OpTic Gaming, get that numbers advantage, and then play for a home base.
I think that missed rocket might end up calling Caustic Sparty right there. Now he's out the game, you start to get the numbers that they're looking for, and APG with a big win against this Formal teammate in Lethal King Nick, trying to do as much damage as possible over toward the purple side. It looks like him and Suspector are able to break through right through the defenses of Lucid and Formal, so big plays coming right back onto Sentinels. APG hitting the black screen as well. That's a flank from King Nick, and Formal ends up going down, and hold on, Sentinels looking a little diffy today, increasing their lead, clearing out the A and the purple side. That's gonna force OpTic all the way back towards those C spawns.
And I love this. This is Sentinels getting greedy, right? They're not just satisfied with 2, pushing for 3. King Nick trying to put pressure on those spawns. And although he goes down, OpTic Gaming, because of how constricted they were, they're still gonna have to fight into another round of slays in order to really be comfortable with a 2 cap.
103-19 lead. OpTic have been stagnant at that 19 point, finally getting the double cap that they were looking for. Bravo and Charlie in the hands of OpTic Gaming. Meanwhile, Trippy doing everything he can to stay alive. Eventually, Sparty the dog hits his teeth into Trippy, takes him down. Lucid with the bait and switch, and now we're seeing an all-out brawl. And when OpTic get dirty like this, when OpTic are winning gunfights like this, it's going to be dangerous. It's going to be tough to beat them, as OpTic not only putting Sentinels 3 down, but then working on the triple cap at the exact same time, influencing and manipulating the spawns as well, as the Spectre stuck over towards the PD side. Him and Sparty have to work a 1-2 combo.
Yeah, a very dangerous situation that Sentinels is able to push out of for now, but this isn't over. These rockets can determine so much in the game. Opening slays after a trip cap can determine whether you go on a 60-point run or whether you're going to go on a 180-point run. So far, Sentinels' easy answers to get back towards this rocket are starting to get slays, but you can see if you give OpTic Gaming an inch, they will absolutely try to push you for a mile with trip cap opportunities.
But once again, Sentinels answering back at every single turn, even able to trade out with that Rocket player. Sentinels are going blow to blow with OpTic Gaming right now, and the King Nick gonna trade out with that final Rocket. Him and Formal both hitting the black screen. Trippy with those spike grenades gonna shred Suspector. Now the frag's gonna follow right through onto the arcade music side, trying to find where that pressure's coming from. There's the one-shot player. Big nades coming out of Trippy from spikes to frags, and with that, they're able to steal away Bravo.
Yeah, great attack right there from OpTic Gaming. Really three-pronged in the way that they approach the hill. Trippy goes out through the middle lane, throw those spike grenades to get the opening pick, and then the other two players kick in the action towards driveway, all of them coordinating at the same time to collapse in at B. That allows them to get 3 kills with no answers from Sentinels. And now for the first time in this game, it really feels like OpTic Gaming is dictating the pace.
That is so trippy with this missed melee. Once again, OpTic falling 3 down here. Sentinels winning a lot of not only the individual gunfights, but also the team gunfights as well. APG once again, as OpTic love taking advantage of those spikes from Trippy to APG. We see those spikes cross map, but this time not able to do damage. This time not able to get those kills. In fact, King Nick follows it up by taking down Trippy, and now APG seemingly stuck like a rat in the subway side. And let me tell you, I lived in New York long enough. I know what happens to these rats. They get exterminated real quick. Sentinels end up going 3 down. OpTic looking to answer back, but the AB hold still being held strong here by Sentinels in game 1.
Yeah, dangerous situation for OpTic Gaming, but they make the most out of it, right? They're still being put on respawns. They're not winning these fights, but at least they're getting trades. That could have been an easy trip cap for Sentinels. OpTic Gaming finding a couple crucial trades at the right moments, at least stop the trip cap bleed, but it's still an all-out fight for rockets and other resources on the map, but it's giving OpTic Gaming at least a chance to get back into these hills and fight their way towards a control.
I'm so surprised that Trippy wasn't able to trade out with the Rockets. Rockets end up hitting the floor, and that's going to be Sentinels take advantage of them. Somehow Sentinels able to steal Rockets away and not put OpTic 3 down, which they've done so many times with their BR. I mean, with Rockets, you expect it to be easier for them to get the kills that they're looking for, but it's Sentinels that end up on the black screen. OpTic Gaming moving to the defensive stance. Now we see OpTic playing through the double cap, and if they get the slays they're looking for, you best believe they're going to push up, and they're going to steal away Alpha. We could see a trip cap if Sentinels don't hold on to the defenses.
APG is a one-man army at B. He held off 2, and then gives the word to Formal to come in to try to clean up the rest. On the other side, he had Spartan away from Sentinels, trying to make a push towards C, but that push never materializes, and it makes the push at B pretty stagnant for Sentinels. They just don't have the numbers to keep refilling their resources. It allows players from OpTic Gaming to slowly trickle in and eventually outnumber the players of Sentinels, gaining control of B once again.
Love that cheeky spot by Trippy to try to stay alive and dare anybody to go past them over on the arcade side of the map. Sadly, he was spotted out and dealt with, but Sentinels still haven't passed the 50% portion. They need to find out. They're going over to Bravo, they're going over to Charlie, they're dividing their resources right now. They seemingly stuck on the purple side looking for an answer right now. Finally, they might have found one in Sparty and the Bulldog. That's going to open up this lane wide open, but Sparty not able to stay alive with that shotgun. Lethal now getting into the close range, gonna win that fight against Trippy here, and it's OpTic Gaming that have stolen the lead. OpTic now are in the driver's seat as the Rockets are coming up here. Can Sentinels respond like they've done all early game long?
And great effort for Sentinels to put all their resources towards the middle lane, get away with those Rockets, and then play for control once again. Lucid's the last alive, but somehow gets behind the Rocket player. Talk about making lemonade out of lemons. Everyone was down, but Lucid somehow finds the golden goose.
Lucid trying to stay alive here, down to Absolute, and a stray grenade ends up taking down Lucid here. His teammates get back-to-back kills, but it's still a 2v1 in favor of Sentinels, and Suspector having the ultimate equalizer. The Rockets push Trippy down to one shot. The headshot from across the map gonna be able to finish him off, and once again Sentinels playing with that double cap, but it's OpTic out-rotating them onto the Alpha side. Now we're seeing Sentinels quickly taking over Bravo, and once again the setup being held here. This time it's going to be Bravo and Charlie here for Sentinels, and they're trading out their lives here, but as long as OpTic are on the black screen, that means they can't capture bases at the moment here. APG going to try to desperate over toward the B side. Looks like Trippy's there as well, but Sentinels, they're spawning on Cafe. That should mean Alpha belongs to them.
This is so dangerous. You saw the spawns for OpTic Gaming. They're coming out Red Room, and it's great recognition from Sentinels to immediately push back over towards A. They're going to to go for an AC hold. And while this is happening, if you can keep forcing OpTic Gaming towards Red Room, that could be a devastating blow. But Formal, quick to recognize the situation, breaks out C and saves the effort for OpTic Gaming. A very dangerous situation that could have cost OpTic the game right then and right there, but Formal, a great recognition to break it.
Three-man push coming out of Sentinels over toward the arcade side. It looks like OpTic gonna match those as far as numbers, and an all-out brawl coming out here. The Sentinel team gonna shred one, but three down go OpTic, make it all four. That's gonna be a wipe as Sentinels take complete control here. Moving over towards Charlie, OpTic forced to spawn up and play the alpha side. King Nick gonna do damage, take down one, get right out of that situation. Just frustrating OpTic Gaming with the way he's able to get kills and get in and out of that situation. Sentinels looking to steal the lead once again, but Suspector trades out those rockets. There should be one more.
One more rocket, but many players from OpTic Gaming towards B, and it's going to be enough to capture that hill. And now they have this setup, and Sentinels has to decide, are we pushing to B, are we pushing to C? Where are you putting your numbers? Because you have 25 seconds to make an effort play.
Big trade coming out of APG, then turns it into a double kill. The long range shot's gonna connect. The double kill onto the second one onto the arcade side, and that stops the entire push out of Sentinels from pushing over towards Bravo. And now we're quickly moving into the end game. Just 10 more seconds. The Sentinels will have to start to desperate into this hill. Sparty ends up flying out, but that's gonna be an easy kill. APG and Trippy with the 2v1, and now there's two players that are able to break through the Bravo side. But look what Formal does, out rotates him completely. By the time Sentinels take Bravo, OpTic are already taking Charlie. There's just 2 more seconds and not enough time. OpTic Gaming taking game 1.
A brilliant job from Formal, showing that not all the time it has to be the slays that win you the game, but rather the positioning on the map. Recognizing the desperation pushes, Sentinels realizes that they leave the home base empty, takes the opportunity to go get into that hill, and before Sentinels can even react, the game is over. And that's just a brilliant, objective-oriented OpTic that we saw, because when you look at the stats at the end of that game, most of OpTic Gaming negative within that game, not really keeping up slay for slay with Sentinels, but when they did get control, it was a better piece of control, right? They're able to maintain, go equalize in those positions better, and it gives them just enough points to out-edge Sentinels in game 1.
I will say, obviously OpTic got the win on that one. I don't want to take anything from them, but Sentinels look clean, man. Sentinels definitely look a lot better than they did early on to the season, and Suspector clearly fitting in like a glove on this roster. They're going toe-to-toe with OpTic. In fact, what was that? I think at one point maybe it was like 114 to maybe 19. No, I'm sorry, 124 to 19 run for Sentinels to start out that game. That is crazy impressive, but like you said, once OpTic got into the defensive stances, once OpTic got that hold, it was really tough for them to be broken. Where could Sentinels have done better in that game too, as opposed to what OpTic did well?
I think Sentinels need to recognize that OpTic was playing a little bit one note throughout that series, where they were constantly trying to push their numbers towards B to get to maintain BC control. I think they could have maybe tried to work down that shotgun lane a little bit more, try to take access where there wasn't numbers, and work for an AC hold and try to trap towards Red Room. I think that dynamic play probably would have worked out a little bit better for them in that situation, but OpTic Gaming had a clear game plan going into that game. They constantly filled up numbers throughout driveway and the stairs, getting that numbers towards B, and once they got control, suffocating Sentinels in their back base.
Well, last time these two matched up during the 4K, literally just last week, it was Sentinels that were almost able to steal the win from OpTic. It was a 50-49 win for OpTic Gaming. Now we're gonna find out if Sentinels can reverse that decision, reverse that result. Not always does history repeat itself. Sentinels needs to have a big game right now. The last thing you want to do is fall 0-2 against the #1 team in the world.
And look at these rockets, so pivotal to pushing your way in, and it pushes OpTic Gaming out of their flag, out of that flag push, and it's gonna give that sniper that OpTic Gaming had into the hands of Sentinels once again. So able to stabilize from a risky position early in this game.
Sniper in the hands of Sparty here. Lucid clearing out the sword side. Looks like he has the sniper as well. We have a little bit of a battle between Sparty and Lucid with those snipers in hands. And Suspector, watch out. Don't push that training side without watching your back. You're going to end up in trouble. Body shot onto Lethal. Beautifully played by Lucid, but couldn't quite find the kill. Eventually, APG and that teamwork that OpTic are so well known for, able to clean them up. APG ends up going down. Sentinels on hard defense, making sure their base is cleared out as we are tied up at 7 apiece.
Yeah, really letting Spartan dictate the pace of this game, and I don't blame them. Spartan, one of the best snipers to come up in Halo. Halo 2 Anniversary in particular was where he made a name for himself. His sniper is so crucial to the success of his teams back in the day, and well, what they're really waiting for is for Spartan to find a pick. Once he's able to open up a lane for his team, they will push through and try to control OpTic Gaming side. But look at this flank that APG is going on. There's the number for Spartan. Let's see how Sentinels, how do they react? Because APG, he's on a flank that could rupture this Sentinels push.
That was a big quick scope by Sparty, but if he doesn't be careful, APG is right behind enemy lines like you said, but now taking damage from the first side of the map, also taking damage from the courtyard side. Eventually APG hits the black screen and Trippy gets cleared out as well. Sentinels able to identify where everybody's pushing from. Now back into the defensive stance for Sentinels, even having a player extended onto the sword side. Sentinels slowly starting to creep into enemy territory.
And hey, Sentinels play a very patient game. It's going to result in them getting an overshield. And now a lot of this is going to come down to King Nick, right? You see a lot of the Sentinels players flying in for those rockets. APG is going to get away with them, but King Nick is a great equalizer. That overshield's going to earn him a triple kill. Rockets are neutralized, and Sentinels has map control.
It's crazy to me that people were so critical of King Nick, and if you've seen his gameplay recently during the 4K, even through this 2K, the man is making play after play. I don't know why, and everybody's on this man's case. He's been a phenomenal Halo player for a very long time, fits the Sentinels mold so well, and he makes game-changing plays just like you saw there. 4 kills, 5 deaths, but 4 assists to go along with it is King Nick at the moment. A 20-15 run by Sentinels. OpTic forced to clear everybody out. Big kills coming out of OG. Now immediately working on the spawning players that are trying to get to the sword side. Lethal and Suspector are already there. Can OpTic Gaming get the kills they're looking for once again?
Well, that's huge plays by APG to really stabilize them in this position. Sentinels could absolutely start running away with this game, but they make it mixy, right? They go trade for trade, and that works in favor of OpTic Gaming because they're able to refill towards the middle map faster where the action's happening. OpTic Gaming not going to be going down by a terrible amount in this game early on, but this is a very close game that could start to spiral out of control if OpTic Gaming doesn't ice up on this next push of Sentinels.
The same way the Sentinels are willing to set up on their base and make sure they secure their kills before they start to push forward is the same way that OpTic play Empyrean over and over again. Like a lot of people are afraid of Empyrean because of those static spawns and you being able to punish your opponents after going 2-3 down, but lots of teams like OpTic and Sentinels, they're very comfortable playing on their side and daring you to push forward, daring you to make a play, identifying and making you make mistakes, and then playing through your opponent's mistakes. So both teams having a similar strategy in this, but as of right now, it's working better for Sentinels. Suspector getting another pick onto Trippy. Overshield and rockets come up in 20 seconds. That's going to pull both teams out of their setup and force them to fight.
Now, OpTic Gaming is having a hard time pushing forward because of how Sentinels is pacing themselves in sword. They're not over challenging anything, but they're making their presence known in that sword base. But that might change everything. Lucid finally find the pick that they need. Now going to be able to set up for this overshield. APG goes in first. He gets the kill, but the overshield goes off the map. But that does everything for OpTic Gaming. Finally, you can see them flowing through the map, having the ability to push forward, something that's been missing for the last 4 minutes of gameplay.
Heads up play by Suspector to play that overshield off the map and off the spawn. He ends up getting punished by Formal. Big kill with the commando. Can't quite follow it up onto Sparty with that battle rifle, so that will end up slowing them down just a bit. Trippy over toward the sword side. That's a huge kill from him, able to pick apart the weak player onto the weak side of the map, and now all of sword belongs to Trippy. Sentinels have to be aware of it, so as they're trying to push forward on the long haul side, you got to watch out because those easy back shots coming in from the sword side of the map, making you weak and making those kills easier for the enemy team. This is looking bad from Sentinels, coming in from multiple sides. Or OpTic Gaming, here's the push. This is what I was afraid of. Now Sentinels being trapped onto the training side. Trippy gets himself that double kill that we were talking about, already pushing forward, snatches up Sentinel sniper rifle. It looks like Lucid has theirs. This is exactly what I was afraid of for Team Sentinels.
Yeah, brilliant job job by Formal right there, going in, taking a 1-on-2, manipulating the map to his best ability, taking fights where he can only take them, having the advantage, waits for his teammates to push through, and what they're rewarded with is an extra sniper rifle. Now they have both, and they can give up map control as long as they hit the snipe shots when Sentinels push through. Lucid's gonna find that first one, but he needs to hit the second as the pressure is mounting.
Ooh, Lucid trying to get away from the backside of Sword. Can't quite get away. All of Sentinels hunting him down on that one. Luckily, APG was able to take down King Nick, but now Sentinels are getting closer and closer to that 40 kill mark. And you talk about it all the time. You know, when you're trying to fight in a deficit, you need runway, you need a leadway in order for you to take off. And sadly, as of right now, Sentinels are quickly approaching 40 kills, will soon turn to 45, and eventually OpTic will run out of scoreboard or time to play with. They have to make their stance. They have to start valuing their lives.
And Sentinels has had a firm game plan through and through, and it's this sword room, right? Making sure that they have all the power weapons, they're controlling this room and stopping OpTic from pushing through. Anytime that they get close, they're depending on some of their highlight players to hit shots. And, well, the duo has been doing it for a long time, and they keep going.
Snipe!
The green wall looking more like the green fence, the way the Sentinels are able to find holes within the defense as Lethal and King Nick following up with back-to-back kills. OpTic end up going 3 down. That's 42 kills in counting here for Sentinels. Sparty even get a little fancy with it. Overshow sniper, a repulse, and a dream. Can't quite find the shot onto Trippy, but the BR does the work. Now you're talking about just 5 more kills needed. Formal and Lucid now stuck over toward the shoddy side of the map. Easy shots onto Lucid. APG trying to cover his back, but Sentinels are coming in from multiple sides here. Now you're talking about just 2 more kills. Sentinels flirting with the win right now, and they got the Riz.
They will bring this one home. It's just inevitable for Sentinels to find this final kill, and this was a chess match that was about building tension in the middle of the board for so long, right? We saw Sentinels putting pressure towards Sword Room, daring OpTic Gaming to push forward into their attack, and then the second that they were able to get OpTic Gaming 3 down from that Sword Room, they spring into action, right? Able to get control of the base, and the score differential was so large at that point that there's just no opportunity for OpTic Gaming to work their way back into that game. Incredible efforts from Sentinels to stick to their game plan and play it flawlessly throughout the game. There was a couple opportunities where OpTic Gaming had the chance for the break, but their follow-up was just a little bit lackluster. They got the break, but they weren't quite able to push it to that next level where they're able to get the spawn trap. Really, the biggest missed opportunity in that game was when OpTic Gaming had the 2 snipers, but then weren't quite able to stop the initial push from Sentinels. So Sentinels not punished for losing those snipers, instantly get them back and get right back into their game plan. This is the play that I want to bring up the most. Look at how brilliant Formal is here. He's taking on a 1v3. He finds that first pick, puts down the drop shield, but he's not trying to find the next kill. He's waiting on Trippy to get into action and APG to come to his help. They're able to get 3, and that leads them to getting 2 snipers, but then eventually Sentinels find their breakthrough, and once they have this position, it's all lost for OpTic Gaming.
And with Trippy with that sword push, or in the exact same timing when he talked about Formal with that drop wall, which, by the way, has somehow become the forgotten equipment since the Shroud has come out. Don't sleep on the drop wall. Like, that's what OpTic are so good at. They're so good at multitasking and being on the same page. Like, they don't have to be right on top of each other to force that teamwork. With that communication, with that small talk, you could have players attacking the sword side, players attacking the long haul side, and as a team, when you're feeling that pressure start to close in on you, there's only so much you can do. Sentinels getting collapsed on right there, but it was also Sentinels that this time took the win on Imperium, a map that plagued them the last time they played against OpTic Gaming during that 4K. Now it's tied up at 1 apiece. Sentinels know that they can win right now. They do not fear OpTic Gaming. It would be amazing if Sentinels can knock them down here in the elimination bracket.
And the first interactions of the game go to the perimeters of the map. And what's interesting is we're 30 seconds into this game before camouflage is picked up. So Sentinels and OpTic Gaming are both pushing their players to the perimeter, not necessarily going into that mid-map to try to get away with camouflage early, instead focusing on the slays, and then depending on if they win those slays, they'll have a better follow-up play to execute with the camouflage.
Back-to-back kills coming out of Formal and Trippy, and with that, Formal plays right into that flagpole. Somehow Sparty getting a huge kill from across the map, but eventually Sentinels get wiped, and that's going to be an easy run for OpTic Gaming. You're seeing the overextenders come in, but less about defense from the overextenders and more about getting value, maybe getting these easy kills and forcing in the counter cap, because that one does get punched in from OpTic Gaming here. Sentinels down 0-1.
Yeah, an incredible job by OpTic Gaming, right? They offer a camouflage gambit saying, hey, the camouflage is yours. You take it. If you take it, we're going to burn you right away. Well, Sentinels, they deferred that option, and they depend on winning the individual slays on the perimeter. But when that doesn't happen, it allows Lucid to pick up that camouflage. And once he does, everything's already sprung into action. Formal's pulling the flag. OpTic Gaming's in the base of Sentinels, and it makes the flag cap as easy as possible on the way back.
They're going to trade out his life here. Meanwhile, APG will take the top P control of the map, but it's like Sentinels are already addressing the car side. Lethal coming out of nowhere does enough damage onto APG for Sparty to clean up the pieces there, and the Dynamo Grenade starting to come in. That's going to shred Trippy off of the car side. Formal wins his individual fight, and finally, Camouflage comes up, and neither team feeling comfortable enough to die for it. Right now, it's more being used as bait.
And now Formal needs to find this player sitting in the back, and he's not going to be able to find it. That's a huge heads-up play by Lethal, using the dead space on the map, having negative influence, right? His BR is looking at a wall, but what he's doing is he's baiting OpTic Gaming into an opportunity where he's going to find a pick, stay alive, let his team push back into him, and prevent a push from OpTic Gaming. In fact, try to spring a counterattack for his own team.
The heads-up play by Lethal does allow Sentinels to get aggressive here, but OpTic answer right back, and eventually Sentinels do fall 3 down. OpTic showing us why they're the #1 team in the world. Trippy behind enemy lines. It looks like Formal trying to get there as fast as possible. Trippy ends up going down. That leaves Formal on an island right there. A little bit of miscommunication as both players falling staggeredly. APG trying to do as much damage as possible, but he's going to hit the black screen as well, and that's going to allow Sentinels to control the 50% portion of this map. You see them pushing up over toward the car side. Now utility. Sentinels started to get right into the face of OpTic Gaming, and they're looking uncomfortable.
And although that was a small fight between King Nick and APG at the back base, what does that tell us about Sentinels? It tells us that they're very aware of the number situation on the map. They instantly try to find APG at that back base. King Nick retracting back because they knew that there was someone that was unaccounted for. When you're playing at that high of a level, when you're constantly understanding where the numbers are on the map and where the open spaces are and where the danger threats are towards your flag, that's when you're going to have the biggest opportunity. From there, it's just about getting slays and finding a chance to pull out the flag. And well, OpTic Gaming, they just went 3 down, spawning onto the perimeters, and Lethal is flying with this flag back home.
And with OpTic Gaming losing the numbers, that's going to be an easy pull coming out of Sentinels. The overextenders are in. Formal's actually already in the base. That nade not coming in the nick of time. It looks like Lethal is going to punch that one in. We are tied up at 1 apiece in this game and this series. Lucid and Trippy to find the kills. I want to say camouflage in the hands of Lucid, but I could be wrong. No, yes, Lucid and OpTic have camouflage. Sentinels don't have the numbers, so all those Sentinels were able to get that flag in and tie up the game. It looks like the counter pull is coming.
Yeah, masterful plays by Lucid, using that camouflage to stay in the middle of the map. A hyper-exposed position that he can get away with because of the invisibility cloak around him. Perfectly finds 2 kills, baits out the second nades, and then does the objective follow-up by himself. A great understanding of where he's needed at what time and changing hats, going from Slayer to objective player. Beautiful job by Lucid to give him a 2-1 lead.
But this is where things go from bad to worse, because not only were OpTic able to cap that flag in, but now they're already in their offensive set. They're already pushing up on Sentinels, forcing them back. Luckily, Sentinels answer with a few kills of their own. Will it be enough as Trippy trades out his life? It looks like Lucid doing the best he can to be a nuisance and a thorn in the side of Sentinels. But with Lucid going down, Sentinels push up, and Formal gets the flank.
And Formal, his priority isn't getting this flag, right? It's about these slays that are coming up. He's not going to be able to get more than 1, but a heads up from Formal, right? So often you see players, when they get into that back base, the only thing that they can focus on is pulling away a flag. But you have to have numbers to facilitate flag runs, and Formal knew that he had to be the one that starts that. Now, Lucid in a similar situation, but look how far pushed up Sentinels are. That's going to give him an opportunity to bait and then also play for the counterattack to stop this flag from coming home and to win this fight. But Lethal clutch plays, understanding where the weakness was able to bait the player out, and this flag looking more and more likely to come home for Sentinels.
Lucid almost able to make that play to stop the flag from being pushed forward, but once again, Sentinels are able to overcome. Kappa flagging, and King Nick already applying pressure here on the P side. Can't quite connect with the melee. The nade not going to take anybody out indeed, and it looks like APG challenging onto the P side. Trippy now pushing the car side, but APG ends up going down. Trippy needs to stay alive right here. He's gonna push right forward. Suspector forcing him back with the dynamo grenades. Formal ends up hitting the black screen as well. So now Trippy's in enemy territory. The problem is Sentinels are in his base as well, and Sentinels have numbers.
Yeah, a common problem for OpTic Gaming as far as they're not having problems getting players through to the back base, but there's no one to follow up these plays, right? Trippy's all the way deep in enemy territory, but there's nothing for him to really take advantage of. He has to wait for his teammates to come off with spawn. They're gonna flood in through that P lane, try to give him an opportunity to run, but what this creates is a counter flag run opportunity on both sides. Really, it's gonna come down to the slays in the middle map to determine who's gonna be the one that gets this flag home.
Tied up into a piece. This next cap is so important. Less than 5 minutes on the clock here, and so far so much action. Leads to Lethal running that flag over toward the base, but the long range shot coming in out of Lucid stops him short of that flagpole. Suspector taking down Formal. Eventually the second player tries to relay that one in. It's going to be King Nick that goes down, but they just send bodies after bodies, and eventually somebody punches it in. Sentinels take the lead.
Yeah, OpTic Gaming tries their best, right? They all get to high ground and they all put their BRs on that flag, but Sentinels using some of that strong sighting technique, trying to stay alive, put their head in the ground and put that flag home, able to get the job done. But because they had to constrict back to their base so much, it allows OpTic Gaming to get a huge amount of map control and then try to use that to get a counter cap right away.
And once again, Trippy and Lucid getting the kills they're looking for. 3 down goes Sentinel. Sparty, the only player on the map, and there's only so much that he can do by himself. So he's over on the P side. That flag is being ran clear on the car side, but hold on, they're not aware of it. Somehow Sparty gets a double kill, and now King Nick able to push in and keep the pressure onto APG. Why was Sparty able to stay alive for so long and wreak that much havoc?
A brilliant job by Spartan to know where was safe and where was dangerous. Now, it's not going to stop OpTic from getting this flag back, but it shows how much value you can have in an individual life, right? Spartan, 3 players know his position, and he knows that. So knowing that information, he tries to outpace them, right? Go into P1. They don't expect you to push right away. Well, he's going to find the backs of 2 players, gets 2 kills. Unfortunately for them, King Nick not quite able to get that return in time, and while OpTic Gaming, that flag already so close to home, those respawners come back up and are able to solidify the numbers needed to get that flag home.
I guess it just shows how well at adapting OpTic are. You know, Sparty makes an individual play. It even has a great follow-up coming out of King Nick, but they're still able to make sure that flag goes in, and we are tied up at 3 apiece. Once again, Sentinels having numbers, but they're still kind of stuck in their base right now. They're on defensive and reactive mode, as you would say, where they're trying to get OpTic out of their base before they're comfortable to push up as a team. And now the rest of OpTic just taking mid-map control. Sparty gonna be the first one to apply pressure on the utility side. That's gonna force OpTic to turn their attention over towards him. Watch the flankers, but somehow OpTic able to push forward and clear out their backside at the exact same time, and that should be a pull coming in soon. Trippy starts it. Suspector and Sparty go down. Nobody stopping Trippy from making it towards the car side at the moment.
Now Lethal's going to be this last line, and maybe he can get the perfect shots. He does, but it's just a big shout out to OpTic and how dynamic they are on the map, right? Their ability to go on the offense and defense, be able to look towards their base in a way, knowing where they need to look at the right times is the reason this flag has gotten so far. And with Spartan being last alive, APG will punch the 4th flag in, and for the first time since the beginning of this game, they have a lead.
I feel kind of dumb right now, and I'm sorry. I feel like, so Lethal is one shot, but he ends up recovering. He shoots across the map from utility side to utility side, gets the kill. on Trippy, who's running the flag. He has his back turned to him. Somehow Jeff Steitzer gives him a reversal kill for that one. He shot a man in the back. This was not a reversal. I don't understand how he got the reversal, but it doesn't matter. Trippy running another flag. It's 4-3 in favor of OpTic Gaming, and it might just end here soon unless the Needles are not able to connect. Sparty taking them down. APG now pushing up over toward the car side, and that flag sitting in no man's land. Sentinels have to bait it. They have to win these fights.
Yeah, an APG playing just for a spoiler effort right here. He's going to try to just buy enough time for his teammates to get behind enemy lines and to cause another couple kills, which will not allow Sentinels to push forward. Because right now, the biggest enemy to Sentinels is Father Time. You have 45 seconds to make a play happen. And with OpTic Gaming in your base, forcing you on respawn, every second that ticks off feels detrimental towards your game.
Imagine trying to win a battle against Father Time. He's been undefeated. Ain't nobody been able to figure that one out. It's a 4-3 lead. 30 seconds on the clock. Sentinels desperately have to make something happen, but OpTic now going to sit in defensive mode. Dare them to push up. Get these kills as easily as possible. When you know the Sentinels are going to be pushing forward into your base, straight lining and beelining it, it's just easy kills for you. All you have to do is use your own flag as bait.
I mean, they're creating a blender in the middle of the map by having 2 players at home and 2 players away. If anyone comes through the center, they're going to have a response for them. King Nick has to try to prioritize the players out of their base, but unfortunately that means that they just don't have the numbers at home, and it's going to be up to King Nick to make a couple huge slays. But King Nick, he needs to get the kill on Lucid. No, they run out of time. Trippy gets the kill and the return. 4-3 victory for OpTic Gaming.
I love that you talked about OpTic Gaming having 2 players on their opposing side looking across the map and daring anybody to pull their flag, and then you have 2 players on your side baiting out your flag. So the long range shots can make any part from anybody to pull that flag over towards the mid map. The players in your home base should be able to clear them out, and just in case King Nick was able to go off like he almost did and you get that flag forward, you still have 2 players in your enemy's base. You can still pull that flag off and create that stalemate situation. I think that's actually genius and something that I actually haven't seen much, where if it's the final seconds and you're up by 1, forget about a 4-man defensive push and defensive stance in your base. Have 2 players on the cross map, because Sentinels did not expect that.
Yeah, that very fascinating how situations can change based on game state, right? When you're in the middle game, that would have been a terrible play from OpTic Gaming, right? But because you have a one capture lead and there's 40 seconds in the game, suddenly it becomes more appealing just to sit in the back of the base, force Sentinels to decide, are we all overextending and going into the meat grinder in the middle of the map, or are we sending back resources to deal with the players in the back of our base in order to have an opportunity to pull the flag? And then even if they do send all the numbers back into OpTic's base and they're able to pull a flag, well, you have 2 players on your side that are also going to pull out your own flag and are going to have an opportunity to cut you off alongside of the respawners that are going to come back to support them.
OpTic Gaming just barely squeezing that win, only by 1 right there, and now we're going into yet another objective against a very objective, efficient OpTic Gaming. Can Sentinels answer back here and force us into a Game 5 Slayer, or will OpTic put the nail in the coffin and end it in a 3-1 just like they did last week during the 4K?
And so far, it's been tough losses for Sentinels. They have done enough to win games, right? The Strongholds, they outslayed. The flag, it felt like they were dictating the pace. They had great opportunities. But OpTic Gaming, when it comes to the final moments, when it comes to icing up, that's where they're the best in the league. And that's where they've been taking these opportunities to capitalize on Sentinels.
Formal. Going right head first into the hill. Meanwhile, you have Lethal and Suspector pushing up the H side, and behind them onto the gold side, I believe there's 2 more members of Sentinel. So trying to take as much map control as possible, playing in 2s, and it looks like off screen Lethal is able to get the first kill onto APG. Trippy's now chasing down 1 Foremost, somehow baits out Lethal from the top tower side, and what was a 2v2 and a fair fight, now a health advantage for OpTic Gaming, and they're gonna get aggressive right through it. Lucid gets the first kill. King Nick seemingly coming out of nowhere. Eventually Sentinels go 2 down, but Lucid is jumping and fighting for dear life.
it's interesting because you can see what's prioritized for both of these teams. It's not necessarily the hill that's important, it's the spawns, right? You see all the Sentinels not throwing numbers towards the hill, but throwing numbers towards backseat, towards turbine, because that's the spawn that you need to control on hill 1. And all those numbers, they go through, but they weren't able to win the numbers advantage, meaning that they were spawning away from C. They spawn in A, not giving them an opportunity to fight for that first hill, leaving OpTic Gaming up 1-0.
And what makes it really even tougher for Sentinels right here is not only OpTic Gaming able to take that middle hill, but now they also have presence on the C side as well, the long haul side of the map. You would hope that Sentinels would have had an opportunity to give up on that mid hill and set up over toward the next one, but OpTic Gaming already having first hands not only on the hill, even able to take the active camouflage. Sentinels, where are you?
Oh, that nade almost got lucky enough, but Trippy, he's gonna punish you for leaving him alive. He's gonna be able to get back towards that hill. Now, the question is, where is the spawn for OpTic Gaming? Are they gonna spawn towards C plat? That's not happening, and now it burns a little bit of that camo time for Trippy, but he'll take it, right? He's gonna be that forward player, shock rifle, camouflage, everything you could ask for to punish Sentinels.
Killing spree.
Big plays coming on the shock rifle with Trippy, finishes off Suspected with the BR, and now Letho and King Nick wanted to get involved again off his spawn, but Letho wins a big individual gunfight. We call that a piv where I'm from. OpTic Gaming, though, they may have lost that battle, but they won the war. Now they're up 2-0 right now. Sentinels may be set up over toward the A side hill, but we're about to test how good Sentinels setups are, how good the defensive stances are, because OpTic Gaming are coming to bulldoze you forward.
Yeah, this is like a dream scenario for OpTic Gaming when you're like having a scrim, because you have to break Sentinels. And how do you do it? Well, they send all of their numbers towards that middle map, pushing through half wall. And Sentinels, they were expecting someone to come tower, but no one comes, and it leads to a break for OpTic Gaming. Suspector tries his best to survive. APG eventually hunts him down, and what looked like a picture-perfect setup for Sentinels is immediately broken by OpTic Gaming having a clear-cut plan of action of how they were going to get into that hill, how they were going to break it, and then executing flawlessly on their plan.
I think at this point, if you've been watching Halo Esports for even more than a month, you probably understand that OpTic's bread and butter is that teamwork and that communication, but it's also about their game planning and their execution within that game plan. For them to understand where the weak side is and to attack it all together like that is a masterful. Now we see another setup, this time for OpTic Gaming, and when they hold setups, they barely get broken. We're talking about the third cap almost getting done right here. King Nick having to make a play and a half, and looks like he's able to do so. OpTic Gaming end up going 4 down, but one more break for OpTic, and Sentinels will lose yet another hill.
Yeah, it's just a rare occurrence you see on King of the Hill on recharge. This third hill, it's often considered the money hill because of how hard it is to break in. But Lucid and OpTic Gaming are going to do it for a second time as Lucid hits the shot, and he's putting pressure right on King Nick. The help is eventually coming through. Sentinels go 4 down, and hill 3 goes to OpTic Gaming, up 3-0 on a King of the Hill. Often a death sentence for the other team.
And I can only imagine what the mental game is like here for Sentinels. I mean, you're down 1-2 in the series, one more loss, and that's it. You're down 0-3 so far in this game, and although you have a little bit less than 4 minutes on the clock, which theoretically is plenty of time for you to make something happen, so far OpTic Gaming have been dominating you at every corner. Every single ounce of the map is being addressed. Every push you make is being countered. I mean, at this point, Sparty's 3-9. I'd put me in at this point. I don't even know. Like this is really tough to watch here for Sentinels in a must-win game as far as in the series, and somehow APG's 2-6. He got 10 assists right now. I'm not even mad at that. Like, it's just tough right now. OpTic Gaming clearly are one of the better King of the Hill teams in the game.
Yeah, I'd say the best King of the Hill team in the game, to be honest. I mean, this is a masterclass of how to play recharge King of the Hill. Every single team that's competing in the HCS should be pulling up this tape and see how methodical they are on manipulating the spawns, ensuring that they are in the right positions. And in that hill 3, the hardest hill to break in the game, well, they did it not once but twice in a 45-second spree of time, showing just how critical they are on this game. They are just I'm gonna say it, by far the best King of the Hill team in the HCS.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it was a great series for a 3-1. That was exciting until that final game where OpTic Gaming reminds us that they are those guys. I always hear people say, you're not that guy, you're not that guy. I promise you, OpTic are those guys. And they may have slipped last week, but you're not going to catch them slipping 2 weeks in a row. OpTic Gaming take down the number 8 seed Sentinels, and they advance forward once again.
It's so crazy how back and forth the first 3 games were, Tony, especially knowing that Sentinels really had an opportunity to 3-0. They should have won that Strongholds. When you looked at the slays, when you looked at how dominant they were at the beginning of the game, that was theirs to lose, and unfortunately OpTic Gaming, well, they punished them for it. And then Aquarius flag, it felt like it was all Sentinels up until the very end game where OpTic Gaming figured it out, got that flag in, and Sentinels wasn't able to find a response. Really, we see the Sentinels team getting better, right? Suspectors added new life. I think they're starting to find their mojo, but it's still going to have growing pains, and this is one of the growing pains are shown the best in game 4. A 4-0 response where Sentinels had no life. It was like you're trying to poke them, seeing it they were gonna do something. The only thing that they were really able to manage is finding a singular break on Hill 3, but other than that, it was, I mean, there was nothing really to write home about for Sentinels in the final game.
And it's hard for me to disagree with you, but kind of like you alluded to before, I just want to add emphasis to it, is that take that last game out of it. Sentinels were in it the entire time. I mean, 124 to 19 running Strongholds. Like you said, they probably should have won. They probably should have cleaned it up and polished up just a bit. But still, to be that close with such a new team, and even in that Slayer looking darn good, and going into that capture the flag, only losing by 1 on Aquarius, like anything could have happened right there. Obviously, you had a little bit more time on your side. Sentinels are getting better and better. The acquisition of Suspectors is seemingly working right now for Sentinels, and I can't wait to see what happens to them, next week. I can't wait to see what happens to them, on land at Dallas, for example, in DreamHack, and the rest of this year. If you're sleeping on Sentinels, you're about to get woken up real soon.